In the early years of the 20th century, the world stood on the edge of a conflict that would soon reshape human history. Nations were rising, alliances were forming, and tensions were quietly building across continents. In Europe, political instability and economic struggles created an environment where powerful leaders promised strength, expansion, and national pride. Military parades filled the streets. Factories began producing weapons at an enormous scale, and the atmosphere of peace slowly faded. When armies began moving across borders, the fragile balance between nations collapsed. Wars spread rapidly across Europe, drawing powerful countries into a conflict that would soon become global. Cities that once thrived with life suddenly faced the terrifying sound of bombs and artillery. Across the oceans, naval fleets clashed in vast battles at sea. Submarines hunted enemy ships beneath dark waters, while aircraft carriers launched fighters high into the skies. The war was no longer limited to land, it had expanded into the air and across the world's oceans. In the Pacific, another powerful empire expanded its influence, bringing new regions into the conflict. Naval bases were attacked, warships were destroyed, and the Pacific Ocean became one of the most intense battle zones of the war. Across vast battlefields, soldiers faced unimaginable conditions. Tanks rolled across frozen plains, artillery thundered across valleys, and armies advanced through smoke and destruction. In the eastern regions of Europe, brutal winters turned the battlefield into a frozen nightmare where survival itself became a challenge. Entire cities were transformed into battlegrounds. Buildings collapsed under relentless bombing. Fires consumed neighborhoods, and millions of civilians struggled to survive in the chaos of war. Behind the front lines, another battle was taking place. Factories worked day and night producing tanks, aircraft, and weapons. Scientists and engineers developed new technologies that would change the nature of warfare forever. The war spread across deserts, forests, mountains, and oceans. Soldiers fought in scorching heat, freezing cold, and dense jungles. Every continent felt the impact of the conflict as nations committed their resources and their people to the struggle. As the war continued, several decisive battles began to shift the balance. Massive invasions pushed into enemy territory, and tides slowly began to turn. Cities once controlled by powerful armies fell as opposing forces advanced. Eventually, the collapse of major powers in Europe signaled that the end of the conflict was approaching. Yet in the Pacific, the war continued with devastating intensity. In a moment that shocked the world, a new and terrifying weapon was unleashed. The explosion that followed demonstrated a level of destruction humanity had never witnessed before. Soon after, the war finally came to an end. The largest and most devastating conflict in human history had lasted for years and claimed millions of lives. When the fighting stopped, the world was left with shattered cities, broken economies, and countless families mourning their losses. But from those ruins, nations began rebuilding. New alliances formed, international organizations were created, and leaders attempted to build a world that could avoid such destruction again. Memorials were built to honor those who had sacrificed their lives. Museums preserved the memories of the conflict, ensuring that future generations would understand the cost of war. Today, the battlefields have grown quiet. Grass covers the ground where tanks once stood, and peaceful cities rise where ruins once remained. Yet the legacy of that global conflict still shapes the modern world, reminding humanity of both its darkest moments and its remarkable ability to rebuild and move forward.